Phase Line Fracture. Part 1. The Architecture of Foreign Influence. Welcome to our Stuttgart community messaging platform called the OPSEC Minute Extended. On Mondays, we use this space, in posted YouTube videos, to share both a little OPSEC, or Operation Security Wisdom, along with an occasional Marvel team-up bridge that ties into other regulatory security disciplines and policies. Please feel free to like, share with family or friends, or subscribe, and check out the video of this and other OPSEC Minute extended stories on our YouTube I Secure Narratives channel. Simply let our stories capture your imagination as they play in the background while you tackle your morning routine and backlog of email. Now, enjoy this week's I Secure Narratives. Prologue, Stuttgart, Germany, 2 weeks before the leak. Rain glazed the streets outside Patch Barracks while Jess Lee stood beneath a cafe awning near Vaihingen Station, staring at her phone. 34, Army Civilian Systems Analyst, former Signal Corps, TS eligible, reliable under pressure, except tonight. Her encrypted app chimed. Unknown number. An image loaded. Her younger brother Mateo leaving rehab in San Antonio with his daughter beside him. Then the message. Families deserve second chances. Cooperation preserves stability. Jess felt her stomach tighten. Another line appeared. You should report foreign contacts, yes? The world suddenly narrowed, because whoever sent it knew about Brussels, about Yael Ben David, about the dinners, the encrypted chats, the vineyard trip near the French border, about the conversations Jess never reported. Across the cafe, muted televisions flashed headlines. NATO divisions deepen over expanding Middle East deployments. For the first time, geopolitics no longer felt distant. It felt personal. And somewhere inside Stuttgart's sprawling NATO ecosystem, someone had begun turning emotional vulnerability into operational access. Act 1. The Invitation. The weekly protection meeting at Patch Barracks felt routine to everyone except Jess. James J.B. Brooks, the garrison OPSEC officer, stood near the screen holding stale coffee. Espionage doesn't start with classified documents, he said. It starts with loneliness, ego, validation, somebody saying, I see you. Around the table sat security managers, military police, and Army counterintelligence personnel. Then Ethan Vale spoke. Age 41, an Army counterintelligence special agent, and former human collector. His quiet eyes that missed nothing. Modern influence operations target emotion before information, Vale said. People under stress become access points. Jess looked down immediately. Because 3 months earlier in Brussels, she'd become exactly that. She met Yael Ben David during a NATO logistics symposium. Israeli-born, elegant, sharp without appearing dangerous. She claimed to work energy security consulting tied to Eastern Mediterranean shipping infrastructure. At first, the conversations felt harmless, then personal. Yael understood military culture, understood loneliness overseas, understood how isolated people became rotating between classified work and empty apartments. Most dangerous of all, she listened. Their talks shifted gradually. Do Americans still believe NATO matters? How unified is the alliance, really? Are populations growing tired of overseas commitments? Jess answered casually. Then honestly. Then too honestly. Nothing classified, but enough to reveal mood, frustration, and internal sentiment. The exact fragments modern influence networks stitched into strategic intelligence. Now, inside Patch Barracks, Vale continued. Hostile actors don't always want secrets. Sometimes they want perception, trust, fractures. Jess's phone vibrated. Unknown number. Do not attend your CI interview this afternoon. Her blood froze. Nobody knew about the interview. Act 2, Scene 3. The security management office smelled like printer toner and burnt coffee. Alonzo Edwards sat across from Jess, calmly reviewing Scene 3 reporting guidance. Foreign contacts, coercion indicators, emotional vulnerabilities. You came voluntarily, Alonzo said. That matters. Jess stared at the paperwork. And if somebody waited too long, then we document why. Rain hammered the windows. Finally, Jess exhaled shakily. I met someone in Brussels. Alonzo remained expressionless. How long? 3 months. Professional relationship? At first. And now? Jess hesitated. That hesitation changed the room instantly. Did she ask about work? Yes. Classified material? No. Sensitive operational sentiment? Jess looked away. Yes. Before Alonzo could continue, Ethan Vale entered carrying a tablet. We've got a leak. He dropped the device onto the desk. An internal NATO logistics slide now circulated online across European influence forums. The leak itself wasn't catastrophic. The framing was. The slide portrayed NATO leadership as politically fractured and strategically exhausted. One highlighted phrase glowed from the screen. Alliance fatigue. Jess felt sick, because she had used those exact words with Yael over dinner in Brussels. Word for word. Vale looked directly at her. Not angry, just knowing. Act 3, Yael. The investigation expanded quietly. Badge access reviews, metadata analysis, travel patterns, conference attendee mapping. Inside a SIF, Vale briefed garrison leadership. Yael Ben David is not Mossad, he explained, but she operates inside a gray zone strategic influence network tied to Eastern Mediterranean security interests. Slides illuminated overlapping corporate shells, lobbying fronts, think tanks, and maritime infrastructure groups. The objective wasn't classic espionage, it was influence. The consortium believed NATO populations were growing exhausted after years of overlapping crises. Ukraine, migration instability, energy insecurity, Red Sea disruptions, political division, public fatigue had become exploitable terrain. They don't need stolen missile plans, Vale said. They need alliance hesitation. The strategy was elegant. Shape narratives. Amplify fear. Pressure NATO toward deeper regional security commitments favorable to Israeli strategic interests and maritime stability. Not through coercion, through inevitability. Jess sat silent while the truth settled heavily inside her. Yael had never really targeted classified systems. She targeted people around policy, analysts, contractors, staff officers, emotionally isolated personnel capable of revealing the alliance's psychological temperature. J.B. Brooks muttered darkly, "So, everybody's vulnerable." Vale nodded once. Exactly. Act 4, Frühlingsfest. Saturday night flooded Stuttgart with music, carnival lights, and drunk crowds. Perfect cover. Jess moved through Frühlingsfest with her hood up, pulse hammering. Against CI advice, she'd agreed to meet Yael one final time. The message that summoned her had been simple. You're chasing the wrong operation. Yael stood overlooking the Neckar River beneath amber streetlights. Still composed, still beautiful, still dangerous. You reported me, Yael said softly. You targeted me. No, Yael corrected. I selected you. Jess stepped closer. You manipulated me. Yael's expression barely shifted. You think nations survive on morality? America influences? Russia influences, China influences, Israel influences. You threatened my family. I demonstrated awareness. Jess clenched her fists. You used me. Something flickered briefly across Yael's face. Regret. Then she leaned closer. You were never the primary operation. Jess froze. What? There's another actor inside Stuttgart. Different agenda. Different country. Jess stared at her. The humanitarian routing systems. Headlights suddenly flooded the riverfront. A motorcycle roared past. Gunshots cracked through the night. Yael collapsed instantly. Screams erupted around them. CI agents surged from concealment while Jess dropped beside her. Blood spread across the pavement. Yael gripped Jess's sleeve weakly and whispered, Check the shipments. Then she died. Act 5, Phase 1. The real breach had nothing to do with romance. That was the terrifying part. 3 days later, NATO logistics systems quietly locked down across portions of Stuttgart. Because Yael had been telling the truth. The emotional targeting campaign partly served as camouflage while another operation mapped vulnerabilities hidden inside multinational humanitarian routing software. Not weapons theft, infrastructure dependency analysis, reaction timing, alliance hesitation under crisis pressure. Someone had been studying how NATO would respond during overlapping humanitarian emergencies and regional escalation, using trusted insider access, legitimate credentials. Brian Buchner stared at the evidence wall. All this noise, he whispered, and the real attack came through logistic synchronization. Vale nodded grimly. Classic masking operation. Later, Jess sat across from Alonzo Edwards inside a secure debrief room. I should have reported her earlier. Yes. I thought because nothing classified was discussed. Personnel security isn't only about classified information, Alonzo interrupted. It's about vulnerability. Jess nodded silently. Now she understood. Alonzo slid paperwork across the table. No clearance revocation. Mandatory CI counseling, enhanced monitoring, retraining, because intent still mattered, and because she self-reported before catastrophic compromise. But Ethan Vale remained unsettled, because Yael's final warning echoed relentlessly in his head. The shipments were only Phase 1. Epilogue. Winter settled over Stuttgart. Christmas markets glowed. Convoys rolled through the installations. Families continued living ordinary lives beneath extraordinary pressures they never saw. But subtle changes lingered. OPSEC briefings became more personal. Chaplain programs expanded outreach for isolated personnel overseas. Security managers began speaking openly about emotional targeting and influence operations. One phrase quietly spread across the garrison. Report early. Report honestly. Because adversaries exploited people long before they exploited systems. One rainy evening, Jess returned to the same cafe where everything began. Her phone vibrated. Unknown number. Her pulse spiked instantly. A message appeared. The shipments were only Phase 1. Jess slowly looked toward Stuttgart's glowing skyline. Somewhere beyond the city lights, another operation was already beginning, and this time, she intended to find it first. Act 5, The Quiet Breach. Thank you for sticking around as we continue testing the boundaries of an extended storyboard. Think of it as security training with a plot twist and a fresh way to both educate our team and connect with our military community. Subscribe to our YouTube or Secure Narratives channel. Hit us with a like and watch for our new updates. Also, if you have other suggestions or ideas, or are interested in a personalized name drop, or your work center's inclusion to our tales, don't hold back. Send a quick note to share your thoughts. We're all ears and ready to make things even better. So, keep those comments coming. Until next Monday, stay aware, stay connected, and stay engaged.